Hello there, I'm Big Alias. Let's talk about something crap. Let's talk about something absolutely shit. I want to talk about MrBeast, and I've been following this quite a bit recently, and it's been unbearable and exhausting and annoying, but I want to talk about it anyway because I think it leads to some bigger notions and ideas of things that I've been talking about on this channel a lot, and I think I can offer a somewhat fresh approach to this. So for anyone who somehow doesn't know, one of MrBeast Jimmy's best friends, Ava Chris Tyson, was got into hot water for trying to strike a chord on Twitter a few years back, and now people are sort of going, well, okay, let's take another bite of the apple. Let's deconstruct the biggest YouTuber of all time, and let's see what he's been up to. Let's see what issues there were. And as that began to happen, ex-employee came out with this big expose talking about what a horrible experience it was working with MrBeast. Blah 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 blah. Video after video after video, and of course this is the big thing at the moment, and I find it odd. I find it interesting and odd and telling. I mean, I have so many notions to explore here, and I'm not going to be able to cover them on all of this video, but one of which is why now? Why now? Well, we've been given permission now. Now that the Ava Chris Tyson thing has happened, we can look into this and explore this, but why did we wait until now? Well, there's an answer to that question, actually. Jimmy essentially made himself infallible. He created this shield around himself where it's like, yes, okay, what if the games are rigged? Or in the case of just prior to him, giving money to charity and bollocks like that, quote-unquote philanthropy, which is a term that I despise with every fiber in my body. I have money, therefore you like me. Just throwing money at people, and there are a lot of people who criticize that as nothing content, and who cares if you're just giving someone a bunch of money. And the answer would always be, well, you don't want him to build wells in Africa. Oh, you don't want him to give a car to this family who don't have enough money. And he created that barrier around himself where you can't criticize him. So we had to wait for an access point to where it's like, okay, now I can say something. But I don't know what happened to my voice there. I never liked this guy. I don't like this guy. With the moment that I went from sort of not caring about what he was up to or giving a shit, to, oh my god, I actually really don't like this guy, was when that picture came out of him playing poker with Ted Cruz. I think it was Ted Cruz, who, for anyone who doesn't know, is a far-right politician with some despicable views. And I remember watching it and thinking, oh, whoa. So this is the guy who wants to take his wealth and spread it and distribute it, which is great. It's borderline socialist. It's very left-wing to take, lots of riches and spread them across a nation rather than just hoarding it all, and that's fantastic. But this is the guy who did this and is now sitting next to a far-right politician and playing poker. Something's not right. Something's amiss. It was obviously always fake and always disingenuous, but this really was the nail in the coffin for me. How brazen he was to just go from doing something tremendously left-wing to doing something tremendously right-wing, or pseudo-left-wing. I really think said it all for me. Very disingenuous guy, very heartless human being, clearly. And so, is that a problem? Yes, I think it is. For a little bit of context, I'm someone who I make do. I make enough money. I keep my family going. Most of my money goes to my daughter, but things are very expensive right now, and we just get by. And I must say, as someone who is experiencing this, I don't like seeing what he does. I don't like watching his videos. I think they're tremendously heavily punching down. I think they're mean-spirited, condescending in every way imaginable, and just gross. Watching someone up there, the puppet master, saying dance monkey dance so that I can give you some of the money that I have. On the surface, if you're looking at it in a two-dimensional viewpoint, which, let's be honest, most of his audience would, because they're children, you look at it from a two-dimensional viewpoint, it's like, oh, but he's giving money to people and that's great. You may feel condescended to, but it's good. He's giving the money away, and it's like, no, you're not going to be that guy. You're not going to receive the money. You know, the odds of being in a Mr. Beast video and receiving all of this money is tremendously slim. Basically non-existent. You have better odds of winning the lottery because most of the people on his videos are either friends of his or celebrities, and every now and then you might get approached. And honestly, you're probably going to be a friend of his, and maybe once every 6 months or so you might not. I don't know too much about his content, but from what I can tell, that's the case. You can keep hanging on to the hope that one day that could be you, but it's probably honestly not. So is it damaging? Yes, I think it is damaging, actually. You know, again, a lot of people would say, well, I mean, it's condescending, but who cares? But the fact is, this leads to an environment, and I know this because I've experienced the other end of this from MrBeast. This has led to a disgusting environment. Firstly, like I said, it's very telling of the system we have now, that someone can stand up there and say, dance monkey for my content, and I will give you some of the money that I've made, that I have, that people keep pouring into my hands. I think it's gross morally, and it shows a very morally bankrupt person. This person could just give those people that money. If Jimmy really cared about spreading the wealth and giving money out to people, then he would just give them the money. He wouldn't have to keep making content out of it. He wouldn't have to make them dance first, make them live in a bunker for a month on their own with no source of food or whatever, or oxygen, I don't fucking know. You know, he wouldn't make them go through these extreme challenges for his content. If he really cared about distributing wealth, he wouldn't. You know, it's morally bankrupt and gross, but it's led to this horrible environment of punching down, of people being condescending, of people being rude and despicable and just gross. Because a lot of people will think that people, and I've heard this, will be inspired by MrBeast. We've seen a lot of inspired by channels. A lot of people are clearly inspired by what MrBeast has done. Philanthropy, and have made channels because of it. And, you know, people go, that's great, they're giving out money too, you know, increase your chance of getting that money. But what has happened instead is that people don't want to be the MrBeast that gives people money. People don't want to be the person who distributes wealth and, you know, keeps the system going. People want to be MrBeast. They want to be the rich guy. They want to be the person who has the money before they want to be the person who gives it out. And more importantly, they want to be the person who has the money more than the person who gives it out. And giving it out is an unfortunate side effect of being a virtuous millionaire, or perceived as a virtuous millionaire. And people want that more so they'll begin the journey, they'll begin the process of spending a bunch of money on videos in order to make a bunch of money so that they can be the, you know, the wealthy philanthropist and give this money away. They'll begin that process, and it will be a gross process, a condescending process, and one that is fueled by less money and more desperation, which will then lead, or has led to an environment that is just very mean-spirited. And I've seen a lot of this. We've all seen a lot of this over the past few years. People flexing their cars, flexing their money. We are going through a phenomenally conservative era of flexing money and essentially metaphysically spitting on the poor and letting them eat cake, and being the puppet masters and making them dance for the money. And it's led to a very disgusting environment that we're living in currently, and I think damaging too. And I think it's having the reverse effect of the effect that people think it's having. People think that all of these rich folk are just giving their money away to the poor and helping people and stuff like that. And what's happening is that, like, 3 times a year a poor person will get a bit of money, but in the meantime we're living in an environment that hates poor people and that looks down on them and finds them despicable, because it's a society that is absolutely obsessed with making as much money as possible and will look down on anyone who isn't doing that, because everyone wants to be MrBeast. So I do think that's damaging. I think it's had a massive damage on people. And I know I haven't spoken about the elephant in the room. I haven't spoken about the sexual misconduct allegations, and I think that's because it's not my place. I'm not that person. I'm not here to do that. I personally think that issues like that should be dealt with by the people involved, because they know what they've done or they know what they haven't done, and if they need help tracking those people down, then okay. But from what I can tell, everyone has been tracked down. I know that, you know, one of the people said, and it has come out, that MrBeast was hiring a manager who was God, I don't want to get into, accused of sexual assault, and that's bad. Obviously, that's bad. But again, I think it's something that like I can't add anything to. I can keep saying it. Everyone's saying it, but I don't think I can add anything to that. What I wanted to focus on more here was the deconstruction of the career of MrBeast, because to be honest with you, I think, if anything, as much as I don't like the guy, I think all of this has actually been a bit of an affirmation for MrBeast, because despite digging through all of this and passing through all of this, all we can get out of this is that he's a dick. He's a hypocrite, he's disingenuous, and he's a bit of a prick. The biggest crime that we could get out of it is that he was running illegal lotteries, but that's as much as we can get. We can get anything on sexual misconduct with him or anything like that. It's just that he is a prick. And given that he's got 200 whatever million subscribers, he's one of the biggest faces on the planet right now, and that's all that people could unearth from him. I think that's a win for him, honestly. I think he would consider it to be a win. He's got all of the money he could possibly want in the world. He doesn't care if his career ends tomorrow. None of that matters. I honestly think this is a bit of an affirmation, but I do think that means that we should be focusing on how problematic careers like this are, and I think that we should be ending channels like this. This was not what YouTube was for. When YouTube came around, it was about, everyone now has content, has access to make entertainment. We all have the ability to make what we want in terms of entertainment. We don't have to go through execs anymore, and I cannot tell you how invigorating and revitalizing that was, in the mid 2000s. If you were not around for it, it was such a crazy experience. Someone just going, you can just put this on here and make what you want to make, and that was amazing. And the fact that MrBeast came along and said, no, I'm going to undo all of this actually, and I think everything should have to be a huge production, and you should be locked out if you don't have the money already, to make videos and make this huge productions, was kind of sickening. But I think what we're experiencing now is the tail end of that, which is, yeah, but the thing is, all of these productions that you're trying to be like, there's a reason these productions cost millions. There's a reason. And it's not just actors, it's not just sets and what have you. Lawyers and lawyers and lawyers and contracts and contracts and contracts. And helping people understand what set conditions are like and what to expect and what to not expect. All of these things, all of that, keeping everyone happy and the actors happy and what have you. That was a huge part of the budget. And MrBeast, I think he went into this thinking that he wouldn't have to do that and he could just make these large-scale productions and not worry about it because it's on YouTube. But hey, when you have giant large-scale productions like this, there is a concrete reason as to why it costs millions to keep everyone happy. And so that money that you're giving away really should be spent on stopping people from going away from the production saying, you tortured me for 2 weeks. You should have had people on staff, and I'm specifically talking about the guy who was, in that bunker, who essentially felt tortured. You should have had people on staff regulating that and making sure that this guy didn't have this experience. But you didn't, because you don't understand giant productions, you just want to make them. And I think that's the big issue to take away from this, is we need to retract away from this and fucking just stop with the giant videos. This is not what YouTube was for. This is not what this is about. There shouldn't be a barrier of entry for YouTube. And unfortunately MrBeast is making that so, and I hope all of this gets to unravel that situation, and quite frankly I hope he retires. I really do, and the whole thing is just closed down, because I don't like it. I never have and I never will. But anyway, those are my thoughts on that, and I'll see everyone later.
The PlayStation is only $149, and you can also get leading titles.